Ryan to root for Claressa. I really am. I ain't gonna lie. I got a little bothered when her cousin did an interview. Now, I allowed the interview because I'm messy. I'm a messy bitch like that. You feel me? I can't help who I am. But I did feel just a little bit sorry for Claressa when her cousin Shalita came on my platform and literally, I said, what are people saying that you dragging her down?
Y'all, stop whatever you're doing because Tasha K just dropped a bomb so big it could knock the Wi-Fi off the entire East Coast. I'm talking relationship destroying, career derailing, PR nightmare level truth. The kind of truth that makes even Love and hip-hop producers clutch their clipboards and whisper, oh no. This is too messy because apparently, Papoose versus Claressa Shields is not just a cheating scandal. Oh no, baby. What Tasha K is saying. This is a full-blown system. A carefully curated relationship pyramid scheme. A choose-your-fighter emotional WWE match where the referee didn't even show up. And the real gag? According to these new documents, Tasha K claims she's holding like the Infinity Stones. This scandal didn't start last month. Or last year, it started way back, buried under burner phones, recycled excuses, reused love messages, and timelines so messy even Google Maps refuses to calculate a route. So buckle up, because what you're about to hear? It's wild. It's chaotic. It's the kind of scandal that makes even Remy Ma pause her divorce paperwork and say, wait, what did he do now? If you thought you knew the story, Tasha K says you absolutely, positively do not. The streets are shaking, the blogs are panting, and the Wi-Fi is sweating because the way this Papoose and Claressa Shield situation just flipped into a full-blown demolition derby of reputations is unbelievable. And the craziest, this video? According to Tasha K's so-called exclusive files, this wasn't even a scandal waiting to happen. It was a scandal already happening, silently, slowly, aggressively, like a pressure cooker with the lid duct taped shut, just waiting for the wrong person to touch it. And that wrong person, apparently, was Tasha K with a camera in her face and Wi-Fi connection strong enough to ruin an entire household. You would think that after the whole Remy Ma divorce circus, after the emotional interviews, after the crying in the studio, after the motivational Instagram captions typed from an iPhone 12 with a cracked screen, Papoose would lay low, keep quiet, maybe meditate, maybe attend a seminar about loyalty. But no, the universe said absolutely not. Instead, his name is now tangled up with the GWOAT herself, Claressa Shields. And not in a respectful, collaborative, we're two legends supporting each other way. No, it's giving the energy of two people who should have never exchanged a single text message, let alone whatever Tasha K is claiming they exchanged, and according to these so-called leaks, the scandal didn't spark, it simmered. It brewed, it cooked on low heat for months like someone marinating trouble. Because apparently, the first trigger wasn't even flirtation. It was frustration. The frustration of a man who felt underappreciated and a woman who felt misunderstood. Oh yes, that's how these things always start. Someone opens up emotionally. Then someone opens up their phone. Then someone opens up a box of trouble they cannot close. Tasha K claims that Papoose and Claressa were having long conversations, the type of conversations that start innocent and end up sounding like a deleted scene from a reality show reunion. Conversations where both parties are saying way too much, way too late at night, with way too much emotional investment for it to be just friends, you know the type. The hey, you good? Message at 2:13 a.m. the you deserve better comment that could have been left unsaid. The if you ever need anything, I'm here line that is basically the national anthem of emotional cheating, and according to these alleged receipts, those messages turn into voice notes. Not normal voice notes, no, the kind recorded with heavy breathing, dramatic pauses, and the mic way too close to someone's lips. The kind of voice notes that make you rewind them twice just to confirm if you heard what you think you heard. And Tasha K claims she heard them. All of them. Every second. Every syllable. Every uncomfortably long pause. But wait, it gets worse. Because, according to her, the communication didn't stop there. It escalated. It graduated. It advanced like someone leveling up in a scandalous video game. Suddenly, there were meetups, not romantic meetups. not dates. Tasha K is not claiming that. What she is implying is that there were private conversations in private places at private times that were absolutely none of anyone's business, and therefore became everyone's business. That's the thing about private moments. They're only private until somebody feels betrayed, ignored, disrespected, or bored on a Tuesday afternoon. Then suddenly, those private moments become the foundation of a scandal strong enough to knock over a skyscraper. And while this silent storm was brewing, Remy Ma was apparently out here dealing with her own emotional meltdown, filing divorce papers, unfiling divorce papers, refiling divorce papers, giving interviews where she looked tired enough to sleep standing up. And through all of that, Papoose was allegedly building an emotional bridge with a world champion boxer who has zero patience for nonsense, and even less patience for men with complicated lives. Tasha K claims that Claressa didn't even know the full extent of the Remy situation at first. She thought things were separated, undefined, complicated, you know those 3 words. The holy trinity of confusion that has started more scandals than any other phrase in the English language. When someone says their relationship is complicated, it's never complicated. It's just bad. And apparently, Papoose was tossing that word around like confetti. So now picture this triangle: a tired wife, a frustrated husband, and a world champion boxer who is not here to play games. That right there is not a triangle. That is a Bermuda Triangle where relationships go to drown. But here's where the real explosion happens. According to Tasha K, someone close to Claressa started noticing things. Energy shifts, mood swings, the kind of attitude changes that scream, I am emotionally occupied by someone I should not be emotionally occupied by. Then came the late-night training sessions that didn't look like regular training sessions. The sudden interest in motivational conversations, the weirdly specific playlists shared over text, the unexplained smiles, the unexplained silences, and then the unexplained explanations, because when someone starts explaining things you never asked about, trust me, something is wrong. Then the burner phone situation entered the chat. Yes, a burner phone. Not a second phone. Not a work phone. Not a spare phone. A full-blown, Walmart special, cash purchased, no ID needed burner phone. The kind of phone that screams, I'm trying to hide something, louder than a megaphone at a protest. Tasha K says that she has reliable sources claiming that Papoose used that phone for the late-night emotional conversations. Because apparently, nothing says loyalty like sneaking around with a $29 phone that can barely hold a charge for 4 hours. But of course, every scandal needs a turning point. And this one arrived like a meteor hitting the earth. Because according to Tasha K, Remy's cousin, the messy one, the one who always knows everything before everyone else, found out about the burner phone. And instead of minding their business like a normal person, they turned into the FBI. Suddenly, screenshots were being taken, call logs were being copied, weird numbers were being traced, investigations were being launched at kitchen tables during Thanksgiving weekend, and once those findings landed in Remy's lap, the silence that followed was louder than any argument. That kind of silence is not peace. It is not acceptance. It is not maturity. It is the silence of someone who is mentally writing a list of every mistake they ignored for the past 5 years and realizing they should have left a long time ago. And that silence, that moment, was exactly when Tasha K claims she got her hands on the story. Like a beacon calling her from afar, this scandal traveled straight into her inbox. And that is where the chaos truly begins. Because once Tasha K gets involved in anything, it stops being a scandal and turns into a televised natural disaster. Suddenly, the whispers become allegations, the rumors become narratives, and the narratives become a full-blown storyline with special effects, background music, and a cast of characters who didn't even know they were auditioning. The moment she said, I got the files, the entire internet held its breath like they were about to watch the season finale of a show they weren't supposed to be watching. What makes this mess even more explosive is the timing. Because while Remy was quietly fighting for emotional survival, and while Papoose was allegedly juggling communication channels like a circus performer, Claressa was getting ready for one of the biggest professional moments of her career: training, traveling, interviews, sponsorship meetings. But behind the scenes, there was apparently a growing storm she wasn't prepared for. According to these so-called insiders, Claressa started noticing weird things happening around her. People acting different. People whispering around corners. People asking questions they shouldn't even know to ask. It wasn't guilt. It wasn't fear. It was confusion, the kind that hits when you suddenly realize someone has been using your name in conversations you were not present for. Apparently, Remy's cousin didn't just find the burner phone. They started spreading their own interpretation of events like a wildfire. And that wildfire reached the boxing community faster than a trending hashtag reaches Twitter. Suddenly, Claressa's name was being tossed into group chats, locker rooms, hair salons, and podcast studios. Everyone had an opinion. Everyone had a theory. Everyone thought they were part of some investigative committee. That's when the so-called anonymous sparring partner came forward and told Tasha K that Claressa had been looking emotionally distracted for weeks. Not unfocused, not stressed, emotionally distracted. That's a very specific phrase. That's not something you say casually. That's something you say after watching someone stare at their phone for too long, too often, with an expression that looks like they're thinking about someone they shouldn't be thinking about. But it didn't stop there. Because the same source claimed that Claressa had started receiving cryptic messages during training sessions. Not the good luck queen supportive messages. We're talking about messages like "be careful who you trust" and "everything eventually comes out." Who sent them? Nobody knows. Tasha K's files don't say. But those kinds of messages don't just appear out of nowhere. They appear when someone wants to start a fire and then watch it burn from a distance. And while Claressa was allegedly dealing with this mysterious pressure, Papoose was spiraling in his own way. According to one of Tasha K's imaginary but very dramatic industry executives, he started showing up at events looking nervous, off, and checking his phone like it owed him money. That's how scandals look when they're about to implode. They don't explode suddenly. They build tension. They build pressure. And then, at the peak moment, everything collapses at once. The collapse came in the form of a leaked voicemail. Yes, an actual voicemail. Not a text message. Not a screenshot. Not a DMS notification. A voicemail that allegedly captured Papoose breathing hard, talking low, and saying something that immediately sent the internet into a meltdown spiral. According to the leak, he said, "You know what this is. You know what we had. Just stay calm until everything settles." Nobody knows if he was talking to Claressa, to someone else, to himself, or to the wall. But the internet decided it had to be Claressa. And once the internet decides something, the truth becomes irrelevant. That voicemail circulated faster than a meme. It went from private inboxes to group chats to YouTube reaction channels in less than an hour. And within the next 12 hours, the narrative had already been written. Claressa Shields was allegedly part of a secret emotional entanglement. Papoose was allegedly the mastermind of confusion. Remy was allegedly betrayed. And Tasha K was allegedly the hero exposing everything. But the real shock came when a trainer assistant claimed that Claressa had received a call backstage before one of her media appearances, a call that allegedly left her looking shaken but controlled. When she walked out for the interview, she delivered her lines perfectly, answered questions with poise, smiled at cameras, but something in her eyes looked different. That's what the assistant said. And of course, that was enough for the public to turn a regular interview into a conspiracy breakdown. Meanwhile, Remy wasn't silent either. According to Tasha K's narrative, Remy had already begun her private investigation parallel to the internet's investigation. Phone patterns, social media timmings, location check-ins, deleted posts. Suddenly, everyone was a detective. And the more she investigated, the more she allegedly realized that something wasn't lining up. People don't breathe differently. They don't move differently. They don't exist differently without a reason. That's when the story takes a darker turn, because Tasha K claims that one of her sources overheard a very intense conversation between Remy and Papoose. Not yelling, not screaming, just to people speaking in low voices, the kind of low voices that come from deep exhaustion and deep disappointment. And the only thing that allegedly stood out from that conversation was Remy saying, "I'm tired of being loyal alone," a sentence that hits harder than any punch Claressa could ever throw. While all of this was happening, Claressa was supposedly starting to feel the heat. The online comments were turning brutal. The boxing forums were getting chaotic. Sports personalities were making jokes. Reaction channels were speculating. And all she had to defend herself was silence, which is the most dangerous thing in the middle of a scandal. Silence makes people create their own stories. Silence fuels rumors. Silence becomes guilt even if you're innocent. But the silence didn't last long. Because, according to Tasha K, a confidential email suddenly landed in her inbox from someone claiming to be close to Claressa. That email said that Claressa had been misled, emotionally manipulated, and weaponized without her consent, according to the source. Claressa believed Papoose was unstable, vulnerable, and going through a separation that made him behave like a lonely man looking for comfort. She allegedly had no idea that Remy was still emotionally attached, legally connected, or personally invested in him. In her mind, she was talking to a man who was broken, not a man whose wife was about to file her taxes with tears on the W-2 and that's when everything hit the fan. Because once Tasha K got that email, she didn't hold back. She didn't hesitate. She didn't wait for confirmations. She started dropping pieces of the story like breadcrumbs into a forest full of starving wolves. Each sentence she released made the internet shake harder. Each detail she teased made the blogs foam at the mouth. Each claim she made turned the situation from messy to catastrophic. The chaos was now unstoppable, spreading through the internet like gasoline on open flames. And every platform became a battlefield of opinions, assumptions, and pure delusion. But this is where the story turns from scandal to catastrophe, because once the public took over the narrative, everyone involved stopped being human beings and turned into characters in a digital soap opera. Suddenly, Claressa was the villain, Remy was the victim, Papoose was the mastermind, and Tasha K was the narrator controlling the entire universe. And when a scandal reaches that level of storytelling, people stop asking what happened and start asking what happens next. That's when the fallout began. According to Tasha K's dramatic chain of inside reports, Claressa's team went into panic mode. Not confusion, not concern, pure panic. Phones were ringing non-stop. Lawyers were allegedly reviewing past interviews to make sure nothing she said could be twisted into a confession. Sponsors were sending polite but tense emails asking if they needed to pause promotional activity. These companies don't care about morality, they care about headlines. And right now, her name was into many of them for all the wrong reasons, even worse. Someone claimed that a major sports network was considering pulling back on a feature they were planning on Claressa. Not canceling, not deleting, just rescheduling. But in the PR world, that word is deadlier than any insult. Because rescheduling means we don't want to be associated with your drama until we know how bad this is going to get on the other side of the battlefield. Remy had allegedly gone into what Tasha K called silent legal preparation. No statements, no interviews, no posts, just silence. And the public went insane. When a celebrity is loud, people talk. But when they go quiet, that's when people lose their minds. Some fans were convinced she was planning a massive legal move. Others said she was gathering proof. A few even claimed she was preparing a press conference that would end everybody in one sentence. No one knew anything. But everyone had a theory. Meanwhile, Papoose was drowning in the consequences of his own alleged choices. According to these so-called insiders, he stopped attending certain events because he didn't want the public attention. He started walking into rooms looking exhausted, looking drained, looking like a man who realized late that one wrong conversation can burn down a decade of loyalty. One insider even said he looked like somebody who just watched his own life explode in slow motion. But this is where this video gets even wilder. Because the internet doesn't just react, it investigates. The hashtags started trending. The conspiracy theories grew new branches. People started analyzing old photos, old videos, old interviews, zooming in, slowing down, screenshotting frames that had nothing to do with anything. Suddenly, an old moment where Claressa smiled at a joke Papoose made on livestream became proof. Suddenly, a backstage photo where Remy wasn't smiling became suspicious. People were creating detective boards in their heads with red strings and connecting dots that didn't even exist. And then the petitions started. Yes, petitions. A group of fans created a petition demanding Claressa issue a public clarification. Another group made a petition calling for Tasha K to release full evidence. Someone even made a petition demanding Papoose make a statement within 48 hours or face public accountability, as if the man is a government official who missed a deadline. But the worst part was the leaks. Suddenly, private text messages started circulating. Screenshots of conversations that may or may not be real were spreading across social media like wildfire. Messages that allegedly showed Papoose discussing the end of a chapter. Messages that allegedly showed Claressa confused, asking what he meant. Messages that allegedly showed him saying he felt seen for the first time in years. Were they real? Were they fake? Nobody knows. But the internet treated them like divine scripture. Then came the voice leaks. Someone posted what they claimed was an argument between two women over the phone, allegedly Remy and Claressa. It was grainy. It was choppy. It didn't sound like either of them. But the internet didn't care. They ate it up. Suddenly, captions were added. Transcripts were posted. People were analyzing tone, breathing patterns, background noise, as if any of this was real. But that's the power of a scandal. The truth becomes whatever people want it to be. And then came the interview clip that nearly broke the internet. Tasha K released a teaser from an anonymous woman claiming to be deeply connected to the situation. She didn't show her face. Her voice was distorted, but she said one phrase that poured gasoline on the fire. He lied to both of them. That one line turned the internet upside down. Who lied? What did he lie about? How deep did the lies go? Suddenly, the entire narrative shifted again. Now, the public wasn't blaming Claressa or Remy, they were blaming Papoose. The timeline exploded with comments like, he played both sides. He manipulated them. This man is the problem. It didn't matter if any of it was true, the storyline had changed again. On top of all this, Remy's legal team allegedly began sending letters. Not lawsuits. Not threats. Inquiries, the kind of inquiries that make companies nervous. The kind that make lawyers whisper. According to these alleged insiders, they wanted to know who leaked what, when, and how. They wanted to know who was spreading false information. They wanted to know why Claressa's name was being used so loosely in conversations. That's when people realized this wasn't going to stay a YouTube scandal. This was about to become a legal battlefield. Meanwhile, the boxing world had turned into a circus tent. Analysts were debating ethics. Commentators were dropping subliminal jokes. Athletes were posting cryptic tweets like, "Stay focused," and "Don't let distractions ruin legacy." Everyone knew who they were talking about, but nobody used names. That's how messy it got. Even people who had nothing to do with the situation were trying to benefit from the traffic and attention. Sponsors began making calls. Claressa's manager allegedly started scheduling emergency meetings. Some contracts were being reviewed. Some appearances were being reconsidered. Money was on the line now. And when money gets involved, scandals grow new legs. But the biggest shock hit when a supposed government source was quoted saying that digital investigators were looking into coordinated online leaks, and that multiple parties may face consequences. Was it true? Probably not. Did the internet believe it? Absolutely. Now, people were convinced this wasn't just a love triangle, this was a cyber investigation, a network of leaks, a digital conspiracy. And that's when Tasha K dropped her final, biggest, most explosive claim yet. In one of her dramatic live streams, she leaned forward, stared into the camera, lowered her voice, and said, "There's a third woman nobody's talking about. The internet imploded." Instantly, people were replaying the clip, pausing, screenshotting, zooming in, debating. Theories started multiplying like bacteria. Who was the third woman? Was she a celebrity? An athlete? A manager? A cousin? A coworker? Someone from the gym? Someone from the industry? Someone from the past? The mystery alone created another layer of chaos. And within hours, new rumors flooded the timeline. Fake names, fake photos, fake allegations. People were writing entire backstories for women who didn't even exist, and through all of this, Claressa remained silent. Papoose stayed hidden. Remy stayed unreadable. The world was waiting for an ending. But this story wasn't ending. It was mutating. Because scandals don't die. They evolve, and this one was just getting started. And now that you've heard every chaotic leak, every explosive twist, every whispered allegation, and every so-called insider truth, I need to ask you the real question. What do you believe? Because at this point, this saga has more versions than a Netflix reboot. Every hour, somebody drops a new piece, a new screenshot, a new anonymous confession, and somehow it just keeps getting messier instead of clearer. Is Tasha K exposing the truth? Is she pouring gasoline on drama that was already burning? Is Papoose really out here living a triple life? Is Claressa a victim, a target, or a participant in something she never signed up for? And where does Remy stand in all of this? You tell me. Because scandals like this don't survive because of facts. They survive because the audience keeps watching. So here's what I want you to do. Drop your theories in the comments. Tell me who you think is lying, who you think is hiding, and who you think is about to snap next. Hit that like button if you want the next part of this madness. Smash subscribe if you want the leaks before everyone else. And turn on notifications because this story changes faster than anyone can keep up. Faster than anyone can keep up.